Thank you for tuning into the Buyer's Guide podcast, where we talk all things property and finance. My name is Peter Mastriani, the founder of the Buyer's Guide, and in today's cast, I'm fortunate to speak with Gennavieve Lyons from Lyons Property Mentoring. Now, Genevieve has an awesome story to share, from her rural Queensland upbringing to her adventures overseas to graduating high school, working 3 jobs, to buy her first house at 18. By 21, Genevieve had properties in 3 different countries, and by 25, she was able to retire from the workforce to live off her investments. And the rest is history. Now, Genevieve continues to remain active in the property space, both domestically and internationally, whilst running her property mentoring business. Genevieve and I, we sit down and we discuss many things, from bringing a fierce attitude to life and investing, right through to flipping properties in the good old U.S of A. So, let's get to it. Genevieve, hi. Thank you very much for joining us on the Buyer's Guide podcast. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no problems, Genevieve. I've enjoyed our conversations, particularly around purpose and goals and mindsets that you've shared with me in the past. So for our listeners, perhaps why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about what you do?
Absolutely. So as you said, my name is Gennavieve Lyons, and my absolute passion in life is property, which is why we're talking, I guess, at the end of the day. I don't even know what brought it on, but I've always been crazy passionate about property, to the point where I knew at about 16, 17 that immediately when I left school what I wanted to do. And I ended up straight out of school after graduating. I worked myself 3 jobs, 7 days a week, sometimes all the jobs in one day, to get my first house at the age of 18.
Well done.
And then it kind of just, I guess, spiraled from there, but spiraled in a good way. I've just kind of gone from there, and then to the point where I went, okay, I've mastered Australian property. So by the age of 21, I worked my way towards overseas investing, and at 21 I bought my first American property as well.
Okay.
So now I've got both. I've also got a block of land in Scotland as well. I may as well throw that in there too.
Yeah.
So obviously Australia is my home, and that's where my passion for property is, but I've also branched out a lot more as well.
Okay. What took you overseas at the time? I guess that's a pretty bold move, particularly going from being 18 and acquiring your first home domestically to then go venturing OS. How did that all come about?
I very much like a challenge.
Understandable, yeah.
I'm definitely the kind of person where if someone tells you no, I basically just say, watch me. And when it came to that, even when it came to buying my first house at such a young age, I'm not the first person to do it, and I won't be the last person to do it. I'm already training up my sister. She's 18 now as well. So I've already got her. She's like my little apprentice at the moment, and I'm training her up to start as well. Yeah. She'll probably end up more successful than me, given her passion as well. But I had so many people, whether it was my first property or my first one overseas, or even now when I try and do my next venture, so many people turn around and say no. There's so many naysayers out there. So it was very much, I used that energy, and, yes, it was a bold move to go overseas, but it was something I wanted to do and something I wanted to prove to myself. And like I said, like a new challenge, and yes, there's been ups and downs to it, but that's like doing anything. And at the end of the day, if the alternative is to be still working a full-time job until I'm, God knows how old, then no. I say no to that. And I'm so glad that I've done what I've done. And now I get to help other people do the same thing.
And what is that exactly?
So I've now, after having so many people come to me, started off with, family and friends, people that knew what I was doing. And then the word started to get out to more people. I've had people approach me, people that I haven't spoken to in years and years and years, that have found out about what I'm doing. And I ended up just having so many people approach me to know more about how I was achieving, my property investing, or, what my new goals were, or how they could incorporate that into their own lives. It got to the point where people were so either negative towards it, or they just thought that it had such a high risk factor, or they just weren't educated enough themselves to think that it was even possible for them. And it just drove me crazy that these people who were just like me didn't think that it was possible for them. They would say, oh, that would be nice if I could do that. Just like when people, want to win the lottery, that sort of thing. Oh, that'd be great if that ever happened. But they don't do anything about it because they either aren't educated enough or, they just don't believe that it's something they can achieve. And it just got to the point where I went, no, I am so tired of people thinking that they have to stay in a full-time job, or that they just don't, they don't believe that they're good enough or talented enough to be able to do something like this. So I guess took the mission on myself to help educate these people, which is what formed Lyons Property Mentoring, so that I can help shake these people out of their current reality and give them that light bulb moment where they go, oh my gosh, I didn't, by doing the numbers and by just educating myself a little bit more to see that there are ways of eliminating risk, or, just understanding the processes better, because we're scared of what we don't understand. That's normal. These people are you can see the change in them. And, that's so why I do what I do. It's such a beautiful thing when they go, you know what? I want to go for this. This is something that I can do myself. And then you watch them and you watch them learn and you watch them take on the information that you're giving them. And all of a sudden they're producing these results. And I have people come back to me and go, Jenna, I didn't think this was possible. And then they get that property bug, as I call it, and they're just ready to go again, and they just get hungry for it, which is why I've always called, my company the fierce approach to property investing.
Because with the Lyons
sure
approach,
does.
Right? Yeah.
It sure does. I think my last name has got a lot to do with my personality. I think I've really taken that and run with it because, we're strong, we're fierce, and, we get it done. And I pass that energy on to whoever will listen to me. And, they get results as well. And at the end of the day, that's why I started the company. Like, I'll make my own money through property investing. That's not why I do it. I do it to see people be able to achieve the same thing. And it's the best feeling.
You've spoken, I guess, a lot about mindset and the naysayers and the negativity and haters are always going to hate. So how did you overcome that personally, particularly at being such a young age? I guess it's easy to say, oh, I guess you're right, and maybe I shouldn't be doing that, or how do you get over that obstacle of overcoming perhaps other people's opinions?
I won't lie. When I the first person, I think, when I started investing in the U.S, it was, I said, yep, I'd read a couple of books and went, yep, this is what I want to do. And I was so fired up. I remember waking up in the middle of the night going, this is what's going to happen. And I just got such a fire in my belly. And when I want something, no one else can tell me otherwise. I don't know where that's come from. That's just, a part of who I am. And now that I talk to so many more people about this and I help them, not everybody is hardwired like that. So I guess maybe that's, an advantage I had in the beginning. But don't get me wrong. When I first started, especially with the US stuff, I had accountants, bank managers, friends, family, basically anyone I told, because it was such a different concept at the time. Everyone had something to say on it, and all of a sudden everyone becomes an expert, when really all they are is they're scared, either for myself, say to lose money, or scared that I'll become successful, but they were too scared to do it themselves. So yes, a lot of the stuff I do is teaching people, because I've been through it. I've had people, hound me saying that it's not going to be good enough, or, even myself saying sometimes, I won't be good enough. So yeah, don't get me wrong. There was times when I'd come home and I would bawl my eyes out if I just had people, especially when I was so young at the time, to have people tell me, no, I couldn't do something when that was all I envisioned, to do. Like, this was my path. So to have people knock you down, it happens in every aspect of, everyday life. People deal with it differently. But I think it's just staying true to yourself. And it's irrelevant. And I got to the stage where I remember I had a bank lady say to me, oh, are you sure what you're doing it's not a scam, or it's not this, or it's not that? And she just turned her nose up at me. And I've gotten to the point now where people like that, I just let them go, because some people want to learn and some people just want to reject whatever you're putting in front of them, because unfortunately they know no different. So at the end of the day now, you kind of just walk away going, you know what, I hope you enjoy your full-time job, because at least I'm out doing something different, and at least I'm out trying to make a difference, because what I do doesn't just impact me, it impacts so many more people that I help. And you know what, if that's what they want to do, if they don't want to take any risks, or if they don't want to educate themselves to know that there are options out there to help produce passive income, or, you know, just investing in general, then, you know, if that's their choice. And you can't take that on board yourself. If you're on a high and you're full steam ahead and someone like that says no, you've just got to learn to put that, you know, take in what they're saying. Yes, that's their opinion. Everyone's entitled to it. And just push it aside and make sure that you're staying true to yourself and staying on your track, because, you know, at least you've tried, because people like that aren't going to try. So why would you listen to them?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. You've got to follow your heart and your intentions. And I guess if you have a big dream, there's nothing wrong in going out there and trying to give it a red hot go. To again live that life that you would love to have. So well done for doing that, Genevieve. It's awesome.
Thank you.
I don't know much about the US property market. My blinkers are on, and I kind of focus my attention domestically, as probably do a lot of the listeners. Yeah,
I completely agree with that. Definitely.
So can you tell us what's the property market like in the US? I know property prices are suppressed to a certain extent, or they look really cheap, I guess, in comparison to what's on offer here. But I'm sure there's a lot more peculiarities around that than just looking at the prices. So could you tell us some of the lessons that you've perhaps learnt through that journey that you've taken?
Oh, so much. When I first bought, like I said, I was 21, so it was a couple of years ago now, but it was when we were dollar for dollar with America.
Uh-huh.
So immediately that was a, you know, huge incentive for me to move forward. And now obviously we're sitting at around 70 cents or so. So any money I bring back into Australia immediately gets that, that's just I guess an extra little bonus, bit of income that is attached to that, which is always nice. Obviously that can change at any time, but that's something that I factored in when I chose to do this. Obviously most people will know, how horrible it got for the, American economy years back, and it's still recovering now. But yeah, there was just definitely a lot of opportunity there. There was so much research involved, but like I said, I like a challenge. So I did what I had to do to educate myself before you do anything. Gosh, I can't stress that enough, which is why I now do the teaching that I do to educate people. So, they eliminate as much risk as possible and just open their eyes to what's actually available out there. But, there's been so many amazing lessons that I've learned, because even if things go terrible, which let's be honest, they haven't, otherwise I wouldn't still be doing it. But, little things like I had my property manager contact me. Obviously you deal with time differences and things like that, but stuff that you wouldn't have expected to happen here, because we're used to how Australian properties run. But I had my property manager contact me once to tell me that there's raccoons taking up residence in my roof. And little things like that. And it's
same as a possum, is it? Or
yeah.
Yeah.
Basically they're possums. And I was like, I have a raccoon in my roof. I've never even seen a raccoon in real life. How do I even just let them deal with it? But it was, they're lessons that I obviously still need to learn. And, that's just part of maintenance, like any property you have in Australia. But it was just the learning curve with things like that. I'm like, I didn't even know that was something that I could encounter, but now I know, and now I know how to deal with it. But I definitely believe that my focus is still in Australia, but I think I enjoy the challenge and I love travel. So any excuse to get over and venture around and see the rest of the world at the same time. And, I don't enjoy sitting at a desk. I'm not a, suit and tie kind of person. So I enjoy, getting down and dirty and doing some of the renos myself and, actually getting in the middle of it and seeing the results myself as well.
Is that what you've focused on mainly, trying to do flipper style projects over there, is it? Or
yeah, in America, that's my strategy over there. So depending on what market you're in, depending on what you've always got to look at your exit strategy. And for me in America, I've got some buy and hold, so I'm just receiving the rent off those. But then, definitely like that's what I get most excited about, is the flipping side of things. So we're buying something a bit more run down, and then you renovate it, and then you tenant it, and then you sell it, and then we're, hoping to get these things turned around in, say, like, a month or so. So it's very quick, it's very fast paced, it's exciting, and, quite different to the strategies I would use in Australia, say, whereas here, because we're, our economy is quite strong, like we didn't see the kind of recession that America saw, like our property prices obviously did not drop anywhere near like what they did, and we obviously recovered a lot faster. But I'm very much, in Australia, I'm much more of a buy and hold. However, I have used a lot of other strategies here, like, I've done renos and stuff. However, I did keep that one as well, now that I think about it. And, lots of other different strategies. But for what I teach, especially for beginning investors, especially in Australia, I'm looking into teaching more about the American side of things, but I believe that you should understand the basics first, and the easiest way to do that, if you're in Australia, is to obviously learn the Australian market and how it all works here first. But I definitely believe that, doing your research here and I'm very much pro buy and hold in Australia, whereas in America, I'm flipping them in a month. So, it's very different. You've just, and in all aspects of life, I guess you weigh up the best ways to do whatever it is you're going to do. And I definitely teach different strategies for each location.
Yeah, sure. And that's a particularly important thing, because no two markets are exactly ever the same. There's always different investment grade locations and investment grade properties within those locations as well. So couldn't agree more about the research element. One thing that I'm always amazed by is I quite enjoy watching the flipper projects or the flipper TV shows that are on Channel 94. And
aren't they great?
Yeah, I'm always surprised because they buy the house for, I don't know, say it's $100,000 that they're buying it for, and they put in $50,000 or $75,000, and then they have a market resale value of $250,000. So they're trying to do it quickly and make a good profit on it within that month or 6 weeks. They don't seem to get a lot of pushback from potential buyers. And I say that in comparison to Australia, because domestically, if someone knows that you've bought the property not too long ago and that you've put some money into it, they tend to try and beat you up on the price a lot to get it back to what the original payment was for it. Is that the same in the US market as well? Or do they have more an appreciation of the work that's actually gone into the property and probably what its now comparable value is?
I think that, yes, to answer your question in a nutshell, but I've also found it's very different between if you're buying an owner-occupied property or if you're buying an investment property. So a lot of the stuff, like I've got a duplex at the moment that I'm looking to sell, and when I spoke to my property manager in America about it, one of the first things I learned and what they taught me is, in regards to investment properties, to get a rough idea of value, they work out 5 times the annual rent is a rough ballpark figure of what the property's worth. So it's very different to say like you're owner occupied. So if you want to sell, say, an investment property, he said that the first thing we need to do is make sure it's tenanted, because people want to know, especially if it's investors buying, that it's an investment, that from day one, it's a solid investment and you're going to be making money immediately on the way in. So yeah, there's definitely a different way of looking at it. Whereas here, we go, oh, there's someone, not me necessarily, but a lot of the time we go, oh, there's someone in there. That means that I need to, if you want to live in, that's something that you've got to deal with. You've got to look at, removing tenants if that's where you go, or people want to actually go into the house and it's a hassle to get in to look at it. If there's tenants in, you've got to get times, things like that. So yeah, there's just a very different way of looking at it between countries, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's great. So we've mentioned research, and if I was a mentee within your mentoring program, what perhaps would you be talking to me about in terms of being a beginner as a property investor? What would be your hot tips to share for someone perhaps looking at starting off their property investment journey? Outside of research, of course.
Yeah. So obviously there's so much involved in that side of things, which is why I do a video to the guys in the training ring, which is the membership site on my website. I do a video that goes anywhere between, say, 20 minutes to half an hour every single week, so that because there's so much to cover. And say you go to a seminar or you get a DVD, that kind of thing. You're either trying to get, if you're at a seminar, you're trying to get all the information in, the space of a weekend. And just the retention of that is just, the percentage is going to be so small. So I've structured it. You leave and you take a couple of notes. You look a week later.
And you don't even know what your notes are made out on. Yeah.
I still do it for some reason. So do I don't know why. I went a couple of weekends ago to a property seminar for the weekend, and I've looked at my notes now and gone, well, lucky I already knew what they were talking about, because if I looked at these notes now, I wouldn't have a clue. So there's a lot of reasoning and like a lot of structure behind why I do what I've done. So it's more of like you get the information, but it's presented to you in a way that you actually retain it. And then you can also go back to look at it rather than it being a one-time thing or trying to absorb, 70 hours worth of content in like a investing pack that you've paid thousands and thousands of dollars for. Like, don't get me wrong, I've done all of that. That's a lot of the reason why I've learned what I've learned. But for people first starting out, like you said, you're going to receive information like that, and you're not even going to know how to apply it or where to even begin with it. So definitely for starting out, you need to get your head in the right place. You need to understand that, there's going to be fear, there's going to be greed. You need to understand how you operate when either of those are in play. And you need to understand, most of all, that the mindset involved is is the biggest factor in achieving this. You can set yourself up for success. You can, be ready to buy. You can, be ready to invest and be on this big journey. And then all of a sudden the self-sabotage starts coming in and you start going, oh, but, maybe I could spend the deposit. I could spend the deposit on a car, or maybe I want to go on another holiday. Whereas what I teach is, you know what? If you use that money to, say, invest in this, and then you're receiving this kind of rent, and you've got your growth, you've got everything else that goes on, you can use that equity, or you can use the passive income that you're receiving to go buy the car, and you've still got an investment. So you need to understand, you need to get your priorities straight as well, because we're hardwired, thanks to the education we get and just, society's, habits in general, to, the first thing people want to do when, say, they get out of school. Because, like my sister, I like to get them, younger as well. Obviously, I teach people of all ages. But before they get too many bad habits about money and those lies we tell ourselves about money. So it's definitely showing people that, you don't, and no offense to the people that have, like, I went to uni and everything. I just don't necessarily use that anymore. But you don't have to be, the smartest person out there in order to do this. You just need to educate yourself on what's relevant and apply it. Most of all, you need to know why you want to do it. And you just, you need to get that fire in your belly about life and what you can be achieving. And then you don't necessarily have to like property. And that's what I teach people as well. Like, clearly I like property enough for everyone. So if you listen to, the teachings that I present, and, the main thing I also teach is to help people recognize what's a good investment, what's not, how they do these things for themselves. I don't have, say, I don't have like a development person that I've got, a referral agreement with or anything like that. I'm not selling, products in that regard. What I'm doing is teaching people how to know if that developer is a good person to deal with, like what things to look for, what things they need to make a good investment, and then they can then go for and make those decisions themselves because they're educated on it. They're not just going by what someone else has said, that's someone that's selling a product, because clearly those people are going to be biased whether you want to or not. So yeah, the initial things that I definitely teach people is just to make sure that you're starting with the right foundations. I don't just go, hey, you're going to buy this property. No, you need to know why you're buying it and what's involved and, you know, how you even get to that point. So it's definitely like you've got to be committed to understanding how it all works. Like anyone can just go out and buy a house. That's easy enough done. But actually making it a strategic investment is a different ball game. So just to differentiate between the two and to just know that you need to educate yourself and you need to understand how you operate before you go forward and do these things. Otherwise, not everyone, it's easy enough for everyone to do, but not everyone can necessarily handle, you know, what's involved in terms of, you know, I'm talking big portfolios. I'm not just talking one house. Like, you know, I teach people, you know, some people may only want to buy one house and that's fantastic. Good on them. But then there's people like me that, you know, if people ask me, how many houses do you want? My response is usually all of them. I don't have a set number. So, you know, and it's that results based, I guess, training as well from someone that is so passionate about it that, you know, like now I could talk about it all day and to just pass on that fire and that energy to other people to see that they can do the same thing. And like I said, you know, they don't have to like property. It's the results you get because of property. So it's the money that you make and it's setting yourself up for retirement, or it's just achieving that bit of passive income. So say you can go from a full-time job to a part-time job, or maybe change the line of work that you're in because you're not so stuck in your current position. You're just setting yourself up for a life that's
using
a bit
it
more
as a vehicle to pursue other means, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
So how can people find out more about Lyons Property Mentoring?
First step is definitely to go to the website, lyonspropertymentoring.com.au, which is where you can sign up to the training ring, and there's lots of other different, you know, cool bits and pieces on there as well. But if you want to learn a bit more first, I publish a little, I guess, mini videos every week across all of my social media. So you can search for Gennavieve Lyons or Lyons Property Mentoring, especially the YouTube channel, where, like I said, I post a little video up on, you know, recently I did one on the differences between companies and trusts, or working out which investment's right for you, like just little bits and pieces that I can cover off in a couple of minutes, whereas, you know, in the training room we go into a lot more depth. But the little videos just help people, you know, it helps, I guess, start that conversation with, oh, okay, maybe this is something I can start thinking about, you know, it progresses from there, but it's also got a lot of, you know, really good, really relevant content as well. So any of the social media or the website to sign up to the training ring.
Oh, that's great. I've enjoyed watching quite a few of your videos now.
Oh, you've seen them too?
Yeah, I've seen a few on your Facebook pages there. So keep up the posting. It's some really good content there. Well done on that.
Thank you.
Thanks for telling us and sharing with us your story, Genevieve. It's great to have you on the show, and look forward to having you again, hopefully on some future podcasts.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No problems. All the best. Thanks a lot, Genevieve. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
That concludes another episode of the Buyer's Guide podcast. Thank you for tuning in. And again, be sure to check out Gennavieve Lyons through Facebook, her YouTube channel, or visit lyonspropertymentoring.com.au. And be sure to subscribe through iTunes because we've got an awesome lineup of future guests still to come onto the show. And for all your property and finance solutions, be sure to check out www.thebuyersguide.com.au and our soon-to-be-released site, rentvesting.com.au, which we're really going to pull out all the stops for. You're going to be excited to see that. But look, until next time, bye-bye.